Good morning. This is Ed in San Diego, California, and welcome to Global TV Talk Show, a business unit of globalbusinessnews.net. I formed this company in March, Global TV Talk Show on YouTube via Zoom. In 2020, March, COVID hit, crashed right into my 30 years of established live conference meetings business, US, Canada, Latin America, Europe. I had never done Zoom, but a good friend, Paul, a professional voiceover actor and radio engineer, said, you got to get in front of a camera and learn how to do Zoom and connect all your customers, contacts from around the world. So I called it the Global Meeting Room, and here we are. In just a few minutes, Christian Hoferle, originally from Germany, now in Atlanta many years, he's the culture guy. He's an expert, particularly cross-cultural, international business. His specialty is helping companies succeed when they're doing international business. So this program today will focus in on the idea of strengthening international business relationships in German-speaking nations for the US and anybody, particularly comparing the US attitudes and cultures with the German-speaking nations. We have Christian entering our green room. I'm going to admit him, so stand by. Hello, my friend
Ed, how are
Christian.
you?
You are live on Global TV Talk Show, and I was just announcing to the audience in a warm-up that who you are and the fact that you're the culture guy, and originally from Germany, but in the US many years now and based in Atlanta. So I see on your LinkedIn that you offer yourself to be the fractional executive coach leader.
Yes.
To explain that.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me again, Ed. Yes, German by birth, American by choice. I am now a citizen of both countries. I have to stress that I'm no longer just the German living here. I've become an American.
Welcome.
Well, yeah, thank you. Finally, after all these years, I feel welcome. Um, Fractional chief culture officer is what we call this. This is when clients recognize that a a topical application of training or coaching with one or several members of their staff did the job, but they realize maybe we have more systemic reason for looking at cross-cultural activities within our team, but nobody in senior leadership owns that topic. Very often it's pushed on HR or maybe learning and development if they have that, or organizational development if the structure is large enough to justify that role. But very often, all these colleagues that deal with their core business, they don't have time or bandwidth or skill set to own this larger organizational cross-cultural concept. So let me give you an example. One of our clients is a tier one automotive supplier. They have a headquarter in Western Germany, but they also have operations in Poland and India, in China, in the US, in Mexico, and some other locations. Their senior leadership consists of a CEO, site leaders all over the planet, chief operational officers, marketing people, salespeople, all sorts of subject matter expertise within this automotive supply world. None of them ever was trained or tasked with preparing an organization for their global exposure. And quite frankly, most of these organizations don't need a full time C suite member to do this. That's why we've figured out our clients need a fractional role. It's almost like you have an attorney on retainer. Right? You have a specific amount of time per year that you allocate to this client. And with these clients, we are embedded in senior leadership functions or senior leadership tasks. So we attend sales meetings or we attend recruiting strategy sessions or even interviews or negotiations. It could be various things wherever the cross cultural aspect plays a role, and whoever is leading that task within the organization feels, oh, I may have a blind spot here. Who else can support this? And that's when I or one of my associates gets called into this.
Let's talk about the need and the why. In a recent post that I just loved that you did on LinkedIn, and I love the content about the cultural semantic differences and just ways of thinking, uh, almost like a personality um, test
Yeah.
about how different it is and how dangerous that is to uh, strengthening international business relations because of just ways of thinking
Yeah.
and the idea that you're this expert that's brought in because of the volume of business that's potential and how easy it could go off the rails.
Yeah. It often
Go
goes
a
off
little
the rails.
deeper. Yeah.
It often goes off the rails because of really small things that you would think or presume, yeah, you did that right. You did your homework around that, didn't you? And the client often thinks, yeah, we got this. And yet again, it's usually the almost obvious things that can sidetrack you and like, oh, darn it, we didn't consider this. So I'm guessing you're referring to a LinkedIn post about what was it about the feedback or the
Yes, constant feedback versus first of all, the idea in German culture, if I remember correctly, the if silence is a comfort zone,
yeah,
whereas silence from an American point of view typically is what's happening? How come?
yeah. Well, first of all, let me hedge this a little bit. Whenever we use those generalizations, um, they are just that generalization. It doesn't mean that everybody in the German speaking world or everybody in North America is like this. But the trend, as you just said, it is silence when it comes to feedback, whether it's positive or negative. Silence in the German speaking or Dutch speaking, also French speaking work environment means there's nothing to report here. Everything is going according to plan. Keep doing what you're doing. Silence is good. That means there's nothing we need to correct or adjust. And when leaders from those parts of the world do their work in North America, or I would even go as far as wherever in the English speaking world, it could be in the UK, it could be in Canada, it could be Australia, and you're too silent, meaning you're not giving explicit targeted feedback on sometimes smaller tasks, that just signals or sends a different signal. It sends the signal that you might not pay attention to what your team is doing, or you won't give it much weight because, well, whatever they're doing, I don't need to comment on this. that gives the person who's doing that work the feeling that, oh, my superior, my leader isn't really interested in what I do. So they quickly feel not valued or not seen, or wondering what's going on. Why isn't she or why isn't he telling me that I'm doing my job right? Or why aren't they giving me notes on what I'm doing? It creates this feeling in the Anglo world, this feeling of uncertainty. And German speaking leaders and Dutch speaking leaders in particular often miss this when they do this in the Anglo world for the first time, because for a German slash Dutch speaker, um, what they consider excessive praise is is like inflationary. It's like, oh, if I constantly praise, what is the praise worth at the end of the day? Why do I have to tell you that you put this one piece of equipment back on the shelf correctly? I mean, that's what I'm paying you for. You should know how to do this. There's no need for me to pat you back for that. That's the German thinking, right? Whereas the American thing is, hey, tell me if I'm doing it right. And if I am, give me more responsibility and I'll prove to you that I can handle that as well. So that's a missed
Yeah.
opportunity for connection.
So the issue also involves trust,
It does. Yeah.
and feelings, feel good feelings. Excuse me.
I think so, yes. And I think, I mean, you could drill this very deep hole around this, because in Central Europe for centuries, um, manual labor or craft work, any type of specialized work that you need your hands or specific machinery for, involved a rather regimented and strict training program, usually called an apprenticeship program. So the 16, 17, 18-year-old novice to that trade or to that job would be taught by a senior experienced colleague for 2.5, 3 years, at the end of which they themselves will be as competent and universally trained in that career: electrician, car mechanic, or mechatronic in a production environment, or baker, butcher, bricklayer, whatever it might be. Right? So at that point, when they're fully trained, you don't have to give them constant instructions on how to do the work they need to do. They have seen everything and know intuitively what to do. They've been fully trained. That training, especially in the trades in the US, barely exists anymore. And one of the reasons behind it, it's not a good or bad thing, it just doesn't exist the same way. Because when European immigrants came to the US, they were also looking for economic freedom, the freedom to reinvent themselves in their careers and take on a different role as they progress as a human being. So these regimented European old fashioned ways of job training felt obsolete, and they slowly went away. Which means, as a leader in a US organization, you have to have a lot more eyes on the ball. You have to have a lot more involvement in the execution of a task in order to make sure that people do what they're supposed to do. So trust in that environment is established in a different way than it would be in a Central European work environment.
So uh, there's a big demand for this service.
I would say so, yes.
Yeah. Um, so the economic opportunity in Europe now is, I'm from reading the press, and it is huge. Uh, there's world trade capabilities uh, of in Austria, Germany, Poland, for sure, Switzerland, yes, France, Amsterdam area, sure. Proven for hundreds of years
Mm-hmm.
expertise.
Yeah.
And in America, um, well, it's younger, of course, but um, especially with automation. and ways of doing things. How is and now AI? Um, what's the view of in this context? What's the view of AI in methodology and getting things done in Central Europe?
I think it depends on the industry you're talking to. I think more traditional industries have a rather skeptical view of it in the sense that people are afraid that their jobs might become obsolete and become a victim of automation, right? And with the robots, the intelligent robots can do, we don't need the human anymore. There's a certain concern, if not fear, around this in mainly production environments. But you see that here in the US as well. It's not just a European thing. I think though that North America is much quicker in adopting these new technologies than more conservative traditional European industries are. Um, and I think that's where Europe is falling behind. There's so much regulation around information technology in Europe that the the ground to fertilize these new ideas and technological concepts is not fertilized and watered enough. And China is running circles around everybody in this, and the US is trying to catch up, and it's the arms race between those two AI superpowers. Europe, as it stands today, probably won't play a big role in this if nothing changes, right? So I'm a bit skeptical for about Europe's competitiveness in this field.
Fascinating. So, what do you want people, in summary, in the next few minutes, uh, what do you want people to take away from this conversation
Well, I hope you can
about
take
the
away.
international relationship, strengthening international understanding?
I'm gonna cast a bit of a net here. I think there's this 10, 15 years ago, we were still most people in big business were like, oh, globalization is a thing, is unstoppable, and we all will all get much closer to each other as a result of globalization, and cultural differences won't matter anymore. Then came the backlash to globalization because there's a lot of people that lost out because of it, because your mom and pop shop next door shut down because of global competition. You lost your job and you got frustrated. So not everybody's a winner in this. But if I'm certainly not an economist, but I think that money, investment, economic opportunities like water, it will always find a way. It has a very small head to go through every nook and cranny. So money, investment, economic opportunity will always find a way, no matter how many tariffs you put up or how many barriers to entry you want to establish. There will be trade of one way or the other, which means that people across language, political, cultural borders, people will do business with each other. That's who we are. We are a business making species, ever have been. Ever since we left the cave to fight the saber-toothed tiger, we traded with one another. Who's got the better spear and the better torch to light the home, right? So we do trade. That's how we function as a species. And if we trade with one another, we will do this across differences. And either we know how to handle these differences, and great on you. If you don't, you'll need somebody to assist you along the way. And that's the business niche that we fill. This is the service we provide for our clients who are good at what they do. They might not be super good at doing this across borders.
Interesting. And what is your website?
Theculturemastery.com. The article is part of the domain, theculturemastery.com.
Great. Thanks for being my guest in
Thanks for having me.
this news brief. Come back again. Thank you, Christian. Nice to
Thank
see
you.
you.
Good to see you.
Bye bye. Thank you.